Okay, in this movie we're going to talk about the new features in the Pipeline Simulator version 3.0. The first new feature I want to show you is something we call the configuration checker. And that's a new tab down here along the bottom of the screen. If I click on that, I see I get some error messages down here. Now what this is designed to do is to give you a running list of anything that's misconfigured in the simulator. Now there are something like 250 parameters or more in the simulator that you can adjust, and without something to remind you what's within bounds or out of bounds, it's very easy to make a mistake and overlook something. So we realized we needed to add this. So you can see there's two different kinds of icons here, and these represent levels of problems, whereas for example the red X is we would consider an error that needs to be dealt with and corrected, whereas the yellow exclamation mark is more of a warning of something that's a little bit out of the ordinary. Perhaps it's not wrong, but it's just simply out of typical boundaries. And you can see here on the tab we summarize the number of errors and warnings. So the idea here is that you're going to look at this frequently while you're using your simulator and changing things and looking for errors and correcting them. So here's a couple of more quick things I want to show you about this. I can double click on the icon over here and I get a pop-up window that gives me a further explanation and basically some help about what the parameter is and what the allowable values are. Now let me actually correct one of these quickly for you so you can see how that works. It's the hydraulic safety factor in the object called common model. Well, here's our common model up here, and we click there and all of our properties of the common model show up down here. I want to scroll down, and there's my hydraulic safety factor. Well, my error message said that this is for a centrifugal pump system only. Well, I have a PD pump system, so that's obviously a mistake on my part. So I'm going to put the 1 in there, hit enter, and you notice the error goes away. So that's how you use the configuration checker feature. Okay, the next feature I'm going to show you is something we call the pipe and profile wizard. Now, anybody that's worked with the simulator before would be familiar with the pipe and profile spreadsheet. It looks like this. It's an Excel spreadsheet with the kilometer post, the elevation, and then the pipe properties here. Now in the past you had to make this all manually using cut and paste, and it's a little fidgety and tedious. So we realized what we needed to do was make a tool to make that automated. So let's show you that real quick. Tools, Pipe and Profile Wizard. Click next here. Now first of all I can specify a ground profile. I'm just going to grab some data here real quick. I'm going to go through this very quickly because we have another movie that explains it in detail. So I paste my data from the Windows clipboard in there, and I get a little picture of what it looks like. I could pick different units if I wanted to. And I hit next. I can pick my material, this time steel only, and then a steel grade. I can pick that. I can select a pipe size from these standard sizes in the list, or if I want to compare that with some throughput, and say 1,000,000 tons per annum that my client gave me, I can do it this way. I get an equivalent flow in cubic meters per hour. And then when I come down here to my pipe size drop down, I get a velocity calculation. So if I was looking for a velocity of about, say, 2 meters a second, I would in this case pick the 18-inch pipe. Then we go next, and now I need to pick my wall thicknesses for steel and liner. I can look at this standard list of pipe walls, And I'm just going to pick this extra heavy, double click it, shows up there. Next, I could pick some information about flanges if my pipe was flanged, but it's not in this case. Next, and then finish, which would allow me to then save that data to an Excel spreadsheet. So I'm just going to cancel this for now. But what would that have allowed me to do is create this pipe and profile spreadsheet completely without having to look at Excel. Okay. Alright, now the next feature that we have in version 3.0 is some capabilities for editing in stations. Now if I go here to my Explorer view, which is this upper left area of the screen, I can do a number of things from here that I used to have to do with the Project Wizard, which was some extra steps. Now it's much easier to, for example, I can add a new station here. I can go to the station itself, I can move it and rename it or delete it. And if I have a choke station, I can add a choke leg. I can add a choke step and delete a choke leg, etc. So I can do everything that I want to do with chokes, all from here without having to go to the Project Wizard. So it's very quick to move things around. For an example, let's quickly try moving VS 101 from kilometer 6 to, let's make it 8. And so there we go. Whoops, my product changed. And so there I moved my station. Okay, now the next thing we're going to look at is something we call viewpoints. Now there's a lot of data in the simulator, especially if you start looking around up here in the nodes area and pipe elements. A lot of detailed information down here in the grid and in the HGL picture. But sometimes there's so much information it's hard to get at what you really want. So we made this thing called viewpoints, and in there these are specific views or viewpoints of the data. For example, we have something called economics, which tells me my total steel weight in the pipe in tons, and then my power usage. So if I wanted to do some economics calculations, I could copy that data over to the Windows clipboard and then say paste it into my spreadsheet here and then do some economic evaluation. We also have a pressure limits viewpoint, which shows all the pressure set points, rupture discs, and relief valves in the system. And as time goes by, we'll be adding more viewpoints here. Okay, one more thing to show you that's a little bit new. This is kind of a detail, but it fixes something that confused a lot of people. So right now I'm in steady state mode, as you can see here from the toolbar. And in steady state mode, when I come over here and change the product, I'm on slurry 1 now. I'm going to pick water and I hit accept. You can see the whole contents of the pipeline changed. It didn't used to be that way, so it was a little bit confusing to people. Now, but there's another little different situation. If I go to batch mode, that's this icon right here. I'm in batch mode now, and now I change the product. Let's put water in. I click accept. You can see nothing happened. Well, why did nothing happen? That's because what happened in this case is we've put water in on the suction side of the head station, but we haven't moved that water down the pipeline yet. So what we'll do then is we'll move the batch down a node, and here comes the water down the pipeline. So that's a little bit different, subtle difference in the way that this product works in this new version. Now we made as many other changes, that improvements that we could come up with in the time allotted. The whole purpose of this version is user friendliness, ease of use, primarily to allow you, the process engineers, to create new projects on your own without having to come back to us for help here in Concord.